Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I am Emily Perez, the Executive Director of Latinas in Beauty. We are pleased to have you join us for this important conversation. At Latinas in Beauty, we know firsthand that Latina entrepreneurs lack access to the vital networks, resources, and funding necessary to launch and sustainably grow their businesses. As an organization dedicated to creating and advocating for equity within the beauty industry, we recognize accelerator programs as a powerful tool. Today, we're incredibly honored to have three remarkable Latina founders with us, each bringing unique insights from their experiences in various accelerated programs. Today, we have Sandra Velasquez of Nopalera, Corey Verana of Acoa Beauty, and Ellie De Paula of Queen Cosmetics that have all navigated this journey, and we're eager to share their insights with you. Before we dive into our discussion, we'd love for each panelist to briefly introduce themselves, their brand, and share a little bit about their accelerator journey. Sandra, let's start with you.
Hi, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I am Sandra from Nopalera. We are 4 years old. I launched Nopalera from my Brooklyn apartment where I'm sitting right now. And I have completed six accelerators, I should say. And happy to share all the intel I can with everyone.
Awesome. So happy to be here. I'm Corey. I'm one of the co-founders of Okoa. Okoa is high-end curly hair care, made to simplify curly hair routines and all inspired by my home country, the Dominican Republic. My sister is my co-founder, and we actually just turned two this Saturday, so I'm excited. I didn't count how many accelerators I've been, but it's been a while. It's a lot. So I need to make a list, but I have a lot of different types of accelerators and programs that I'm so happy to share more about.
I'm also very excited to be here. I'm Ellie De Paula of Queen Cosmetics. I launched Queen Cosmetics in the middle of COVID in 2020 with $200 that my dad loaned to me. And we are all about bold, sparkly makeup that what we want to do is motivate others to authentically express themselves in the way they feel is best. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I actually went on my first accelerator program this past year with Ultimuse, where I met Corey. So that was amazing. It was an amazing program.
Awesome. I am so grateful to have you join us today. And starting a beauty brand can be overwhelming, and there's a lot of information and a lot to know. Corey, I would love to learn a little bit about how did you find out accelerated programs exist? Were they recommended to you? Was it, through social media, online researches? How did you come to find out about them?
Yeah, so Nicole and I are not from the beauty. We started not being from the beauty industry. Actually, my job was as an accountant and a financial analyst, and it was nothing related to beauty at all. So we actually grew the business through social media, and it was through social media that we found our first program, and it was back in 2023. It was the Credo for Change program. And through that is where I discovered that something like that even existed. So social media has been huge, just kind of like, all these brands use social media to share their information. So that was our first experience. So I was very thankful that through Instagram, literally, we found this program.
That's awesome. And I know, Sandra, you are also not in the beauty industry when you launched Nopalera. Can you take us back, to that beginning phase of discovering accelerator programs and determining that this was the right path for you to take?
Yeah, before this, I was a professional musician. So I was on stage singing with a guitar in my hand. I had no contacts in beauty. And so I really had to start from zero. I applied for every pitch competition, every grant, every accelerator that came across my desk. And I think once you start looking, you will find what you want, right? But you have to actively be looking on LinkedIn, on socials. And then people would even send me things, right? Because they knew I was new in the industry. I was like starting a brand. And they would say, hey, this came across my desk. And I think that's how I found out about the Credo for Change program, which unfortunately no longer exists, or it's been transformed. It's no longer in its original format. But it's just like with anything. It's like you meet one person, they introduce you to three people, and then those three people introduce you to three more people. And that's how it snowballed because 4 years ago, I didn't know any investors, and now I have a whole database, right? But it's because I continue to put myself out there and in these rooms to continue to build a network.
Awesome. And Ellie, you mentioned that Ultimuse was your first accelerator this past round. What made you decide to pursue that? Like, were there any challenges that you were facing with Queen Cosmetics that you thought that this was the right time to attend one?
Yes, very good question. So, the same way like Corey and Sandra, I was not in the beauty industry prior to starting Queen Cosmetics. I was a makeup artist and also a college dropout, so I didn't know anybody at all. What really led me, like Sandra was saying, to get into the Ultimuse Accelerator program was looking for ways to elevate the brand. I felt like we were ready to start preparing for retail. So I was looking into what are the best ways for us to do so, to get our foot in the door at least, because yeah, it is difficult when you don't know anybody and have those connections. So really getting into the accelerator program with Ulta was like key into getting those introductions with buyers and those top executives in at Ulta. So
And that's great.
I guess looking to answer your question, it was really just feeling like we were retail ready and we were looking for those resources. So I literally was looking like accelerator programs online and um I've always known like Ulta is where I do envision Queen Cosmetics in the long term. So I specifically looked for Ulta too. So
I mean, that's great. And I personally, at Latinas in Beauty loved seeing the both of you participate in the last cohort. So it's great to see. In compiling, I don't know if you guys are aware, we compiled a beauty accelerator guide, which provides information on all the programs that are available across from venture capital to educational resources and brand specific ones. And when you put it all together, there are various ones now, which I think are great, and they each serve its purpose and add its value. But there's also the component of figuring out which one is the right one for you, and understanding too, when to apply, which one to apply for. Corey, this one's particular to you, knowing what you know now, having participated in the various ones that you have and the time commitment that's involved in participating and applying. What advice would you give to founders about planning the application strategy?
Yeah, I mean, if I can give one advice, which we didn't know ourselves, and we just literally, like Sandra said, applied to every opportunity available. And then at first, you see the Ulta programs and programs for retailers. You're like, I want to be there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you might be ready for that at that time. So we actually applied to the Ulta program 3 times ever since they were created. So it took, at first we're like, yes, we're so ready. But in reality, once we did other programs that were more focused on actually like getting the structure and behind the scenes and actually organizing like the team and getting your company ready, that's when we realized that, oh my gosh, thank God we got in the 3rd year, because that's the 3rd year is when we felt like we were really ready to take on a retailer, or even like actually learn what it was, to what it is to be in a retailer. I think like a lot of it, because in our case, we didn't come from the beauty industry. You assume that there's so many things that you can do, and then you come into here and they actually like bombard you with all this information. You're like, oh, this is it. Like, it's just so much. So I feel like having other programs that are more tailored to maybe a brand that is similar to yours and is like, a few steps ahead of you, or more of education, more of the business aspect, or just a fellowship, or just learning and creating and making your network larger, could be like the very like a good start to just start, because these retailers, accelerators are very, like you said, time, it's a time commitment that you need to put in place. Some of them are fast tracked and you're technically on for 10 to 12 weeks And if you are a solopreneur or you only have a co-founder, then this can take time away from your business. So
Mhm.
you need to really designate and create a good structure on how you're gonna take on the time because you have to be fully committed for the time of the program.
No, I think you made a great point, and then I think it's important to say the fact that you applied 3 times is the fact that like don't give up, right? Like keep applying
Yes.
to the programs that you know will add tremendous value to your organization. If not this year, the following years could work because I think also some of them are limited in the amount of participants, right? Like they're limited. Some of them are a smaller cohort between 6 to 8, and there are other ones that are a little bit larger. So I think that's also important to consider. Um,
And if
some
I could
Go ahead,
Sorry, if
Corey.
I could add one thing too that I remember, sometimes you're so excited about getting in the first year that Accelerator comes up, but they are also trying to figure out the program. So don't get bumped if you don't get in the first year. Sometimes it's better to get in the third year because they figured things out and you're getting a lot more benefits on like later on. So just so you know, don't take it personal. It might just be divine timing.
That is true. Sandra, and I know you also participated in several of them. And did your strategy change on your application process? I know you said in the beginning you were applying to to all of them to see which ones you get in. As you attended them over the years, have your strategy changed on like selecting which one might be the right fit for you, where you are in your journey?
Well, I will say I am retired from accelerators now because I have done 6. So I will not be applying to any more ever again. But I think just wanted to add to what Corey was saying. I think it's important to understand that you need to have a complete grasp and understanding of your business, of your vision before you rush into like a retail accelerator and get excited about getting on shelf. There is so much that goes into the operational and logistics backend of building a brand that doesn't happen overnight. You need to have, can you read your P&L? Do you have a P&L? Do you have the correct financing? Do you have a team? Do you have your supply chain on lock? Right? Because rushing to retail, if you mess up that first time, you're not getting a second chance. Right. So don't rush to retail. Right. I know everyone wants to get to retail and get to big retail and you get excited about getting a big purchase order. Who doesn't want that? But if you mess it up the first time, that's it. So it's really better to take your time and build your business, build your brand. What is your vision? Who is your customer? Is this the right retailer for you? Do you have the financing? Do you have the team? Do you have the supply chain? Do you have the finances? So all of those things, which no one wants to talk about, everyone wants to like rush to retail and talk about marketing. You have to have a solid business first. So I just wanted to say that up front because I don't want to put out this idea that like the goal is to get into the Ulta Accelerator, the Sephora Accelerator, and then like get into stores because getting into the store is actually not the hard part. It's actually moving the product. The velocity expectation of you being on shelf is actually the real work. So I just wanted to put that out there. What was your question, Emily?
Well, in the 6 that you've applied to over, I think it was a 3-year course that you participated in them. And did your strategy from the first few that you applied that first year, did your strategy change year 2, year 3, and being more selective in the ones that you applied to, or was it still the approach of apply to as many as possible just to get that chance because it is so limited?
No, so every accelerator had a specific goal, like it had a specific a takeaway that I wanted, right? So for example, the Credo for Change was I want to meet the Credo team. I want to understand what they're looking for, how they do business, etc. And then the Target Accelerator, same thing, right? I need to understand what is the inner workings of that beast, because Target is a beast, right? The Nielsen Accelerator, I said, I want free data. I need this free data because I need this to build my pitch deck. So I'm going to do this accelerator just so I can get the free data because otherwise it's like $36,000, right? The L-band, the Stanford L-band accelerator, that was all about scaling your business. So this was very specific. It had nothing to do with beauty. It had to do with building a brand. And then how do you scale your values as you grow your company and you add more employees? How do you make sure that they are imbued with your company core values so that you're not stuck doing everything? Because that's why so many people stay small, is because they think no one else can do the job except for them, which is not true. And so and then Morgan Stanley, right, which that one was all about being in the room with the investors of the investors, right? Morgan Stanley are the people that invest in the funds that invest in brands, right? They are Morgan Stanley. And that also came with investment. So yes, I also wanted the money and I wanted the mentorship to have access to that team who is now I have them in my cell phone, right? So it's again building the context. So it's like, what do you want to get out of this? Don't just go applying to accelerators just because. What do you need for your business, for your brand, and what do you want to walk away with?
No, I think those are great insights and things to consider. Because it is overwhelming, but it's kind of like take a step back, analyze where you are currently in your business, look at the ones that are available to see what is the perfect fit in your journey and time presently. Um, Ellie, we've had a couple questions already come in prior to the call about the application process and kind of like how to make your brand stand out in the sea of other brands that are applying to these programs. And being, the retailer ones, I know a lot of people are interested in them, so the competition is probably even higher. Do you have any recommendations or like steps that you took to make Queen Cosmetics stand out?
Absolutely. So, when I got accepted, I was very shocked because again, this is my first accelerator program, and it was the first time that I applied. And I would say the best advice, when applying to these programs is just knowing what your, knowing what it is that you want what impact you want to create with your brand, like with the world, and just be genuine, like from the heart. Like there's questions on there that were like, why did you start this brand? Like, or what it is that you want to accomplish with your brand. So that is where you want to get real. What do you want to get out of this program in particular? So just like be like vulnerable, be honest. Like I wrote down literally like I want to be able to support my family. I started this business as a means to like help my dad. My dad's older. He was driving Uber and it was like after a life altering incident. So I really just when I started is because I wanted to support my family. And then of course, like I love beauty. I've been a makeup artist since I was 15 years old. So it was really like it made sense for me because it's like I'm mixing in my passion and then I have my why is very strong. So knowing what is your why behind the things that you do, what it is that you want to accomplish is going to be your strongest thing that you put on that application. Like you have to have a very strong why. And that's also what's going to keep you going at the end of the day and not giving up because running a business is extremely hard. It is not for the weak. Like you gotta, like people think you're insane because like if you know, you know the ups and downs of business. So you have to know your why. What is your long-term goal and be vulnerable and just put that in the application to like don't be afraid to like show that side because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for uniqueness and also they're looking for uniqueness and they're looking for strong founder stories and just people that stand out, products that stand out too.
Yeah, I know, Sandra, you speak highly about the why and your North Star. So really kind of taking that and making sure it comes out in that application process. So the person on the other side really resonates with the message and can connect with you as a founder and as a brand.
Yeah, and I'll just say that everything that Ellie said is correct, and that is not something that anyone can give to you. Like the why and the mission have to come from you, and if it doesn't come from you, you don't really have it, right? Saying that you want to start a beauty brand because you like products or you like to make stuff is not going to get you there. Like your mission has to be like you have to be on fire on the inside, like on fire, especially in this current climate that we're in, right? Where all these programs are getting cut, retailers are getting boycotted. Like it's gnarly out there. And like I'm seeing a lot of brands that we launched with when I launched in 2020 that are no longer in business, right? Because like Ellie said, this is not easy. Like the el chiste es que, you quit your 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Right. And so don't ask me about work-life balance because there isn't any. So your why has to be like a fire that is not given to you. Like don't ask anybody how should I apply to this? Like it's like what Ellie said, like if it has to come from you. If it doesn't come from you, then you don't really have one. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that beautifully segues into the next question and the next topic of, okay, you applied, you got in. and as busy entrepreneurs, and oftentimes taking on multiple roles within that organization to keep, operations going. What was your biggest challenge in balancing the demands of running your business while also being fully engaged in the Accelerator program?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that I was in the True Beauty Ventures program at the same time as the Target Takeoff Beauty Accelerator. And the thing that I remember from that experience is that my feet started to go numb because I was sitting at my desk for like the entire day. So I actually like bought like these boots off of Amazon that like squeeze your legs to like make the blood, like keep the pressure going. And like that's not good. You know what I mean? But I was like, I'm not going to turn down either one of these opportunities. I need both of them. And so I was in both at the same time. That was extremely gnarly. It very much takes you away from the business. Target specifically was like 4 days a week. And I was like, do you guys know that we're running businesses? Like, I don't, who has 4 days a week to be in an accelerator? So I think that they've changed the model since then because of the feedback, to Corey's point, like sometimes it's better to wait until they have their shit figured out before you join the accelerator. But it's a time suck. Like, and unfortunately, all of us are learning in real time. So it's like you're running your business in real time, you're in the accelerator in real time. It's not like you get to go off to college and just study for 4 years and then come back and then like start your business, right? Like we're doing it in real time. So it's a lot. Just know like it's a lot. You will be overwhelmed. That's it.
I can relate. There was many nights that stayed in my office till 2 and 3 in the morning, and my mom would be calling me like, "Where are you?" Because that's how it is. Like working on the pitch deck for Ulta, like my entire team was involved with that. There was at least 20 calls just around the pitch deck throughout like those months that we were in the accelerator program and still like trying to manage the business, which suffered. I'm gonna be honest, like my business did suffer and my leadership skills were not the best during that period because of how time consuming it was and the amount of work that you have to put aside from being present in the calls, because it's not just being in the calls, it's also like the point is to make the business better. So you have to put in the work and take that knowledge that you're learning into action. And that's not easy when you are already like running a business, managing people. It's very time consuming. And like Sandra said, like you're gonna be overwhelmed. So you just have to be mentally prepared to take it on. But it is very rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, I have a different perspective because I also have my sister and co-founder. But at first, when we started applying to programs, we were both in every single session because we wanted to like get it in. We were so excited to be part of it. And then as we started to be, more involved in more programs, we decided to say, hey, divide and conquer. And, the whatever was more financial or operations, I would join, and whatever was more marketing and brand, then Nicole would join. And if wherever it was like a conversation we both wanted to listen, then we would have one. Because like Sandra said for Target, the same thing was for Ulta. We were sometimes, set for 3 days, but there was bonus sections that you had to join. So it was a fourth day. So if Nicole and I were both joining every single session, who is going to run the business? So I think it's just being very strategic. And also there are founders that I know that also have part-time jobs or have other jobs to, sustain their business. So I think it's very important that you know that your headspace has to be there. You need to be there for the sessions. And also, if you're full-time on the business, gives you more flexibility to join this call, maybe work later. So I think it's just really planning around when you're ready, because some of these programs they're assuming that you are full-time on the business, and they're assuming that you're there to do this and that you have a team to take on.
Yeah, and I appreciate the three of you being transparent and vulnerable and really sharing, the commitment that it takes to be a part of this. So, individuals that are looking to pursue this avenue, they understand the reality. And I think in particularly for me, in my takeaways, you can see how passionate the three of you are in participating, but also gaining as much information as you can from and absorbing the full experience of these programs, because like you said, is not only the opportunity to learn about how to manage a business or the different aspects of the business. There's also a lot of educational resources that are being provided to you. And I think the other component of it really is the networking piece, right? You are in rooms and in spaces with individuals that are extremely powerful in the industry and influential. Corey, I would love to, see your perspective on, how did you maximize the mentorship opportunities that were available through these programs?
I mean, for the different ones that we received, for example, for the Ulta program, as an example, every week we had a different topic. And in that, expert who was providing the topic or presenting the topic would then open up for office hours to then discuss the topic, particularly for your business. So I think what we needed to do was just obviously as soon as that person opened up over office hours, sit down and say, hey, can you have like block an hour for you to like discuss your business? So we did that with the Ulta Muse program, but for other programs, what we did is we created a database of like the people, the mentors that we were involved in every program, and we just kind of like send them emails to kind of like say, hi, this is what we're doing, where this is their updates, this is what Okoa did, this is the One Beauty Award that we received, just to get them involved. I think joining these programs is not a joining thing and then you leave and you're done and you graduate. You have to continue to nurture these relationships. And to do that is by being memorable and by just continue to talk to them and let them in, like let them in the journey, show them what you're doing, share with them what you're about to do, and that just excites them, and then they keep you top of mind when opportunities come. And I think that's been like our way to get involved and be featured in other opportunities. So I think every time that you join something, just make sure that you keep them as part of the journey because they are part. They're giving you their advice and their time, and that is so valuable.
I think that's great. And I think also, and Ellie, this one will be for you. I think it's important for us to, while you are attending these programs, that yes, they are bringing in their network, but I think it's also powerful in peer mentorship and creating community within your peers that are attending these programs. With the Ultra Muse, I know you and Corey and Nicole are part of it. How was that experience with the peers and building meaningful relationships with them?
Oh my gosh, I can go on and on about this. I That cohort like was so amazing. Like every single person that I met there like became a friend to me. Like everybody was so amazing and I loved hearing their founder stories and it was nice to just be in a room full of founders because it's not common in our day-to-day life. Like it can be lonely like being an entrepreneur because there's a lot of things like that a lot of people cannot relate to. So it can get lonely, and it was very nice to connect with other founders that are in the same program that are going through the same thing. Like it really felt like I have a community. And yeah, we're still in touch to this day. Like we have our WhatsApp group. It's really nice to just have those connections. And I made like lifelong friends like from that program. From Red Drop specifically, like Jared, he's the CFO of Red Drop. He's been such a good friend to me and has given me like so much time and introduced me to other people in his network. So yeah, those connections have been life changing, life changing.
That's amazing. And
Yes.
hold on, I'm getting a little more. But Sandra, you mentioned your Rolodex that you're building, right? And I think in light with the networking piece, both from the influential leaders that are in there, but also within your peers, I would love to also gain your perspective on like how you approach building those meaningful relationships.
Yes. So yes to all of those things. You definitely need a group of founders that understand your journey, that you commune with. I actually have a CEO squad that I do weekly calls with. They don't live in the city. They're actually not beauty founders. They're just other entrepreneurs that we met in a mastermind, and we commune every week. We meet quarterly in person. It's so important to be around people. Like what Ellie was saying, we're mostly alone with our laptops, right? Like, so So you need to seek out the community to be able to be in community with other people who understand the journey, who also have a growth mindset, who are also building, right? Who are also trying to step into their full potential as people and as entrepreneurs. I had to get new friends, right? Like I started my business in my mid 40s, right? So I knew a lot of musicians. I still have a lot of great musician friends, but none of them are going to help me build like my empire. So I had to go and find new people who are doing the same things. So that's super important. And then, as per what Corey was saying, as you apply to these accelerators or grant programs, anything, anytime you meet anyone, you should have a spreadsheet where you are creating like a master database of your people, and you should get into the habit of sending them quarterly email updates of like, here's what's happening. Here are the exciting things what's happening. We won this award. We're going into this retailer. We innovated a new product. This collaboration is happening. Because when the time comes, if you are going to raise capital, these people are going to have you top of mind. These people are going to say, oh my God, I want to invest, or let me introduce you to someone who is investing. But you have to fuel that. Like you are driving that car. Don't expect anyone to save you or to remember you. You are the one that has to stay in touch, right? And build that database for yourself. That's it. You have to drive the car.
No, I completely agree. And I think, like you mentioned, staying on top of mind for them is how, if opportunities come, they have you in mind for those. So I want to pivot now about the impact that these accelerators have had on your business, right? We talked about the time commitment, getting the most out of them, but how did they actually impact your business? So Sandra, was there like an aha moment where you realized like the accelerator completely changed Nopoletta's trajectory? Like what was that one moment that you're like, oh my God, I couldn't have gotten this information anywhere else, and I'm so grateful it came at this time?
There wasn't one moment because there's 6 moments because I've done 6 accelerators. I would say really three of them really stood out in terms of things that really had a long-lasting impact on my business. The first one, obviously, is the True Beauty Ventures mentorship program that's in collaboration with Beauty Independent. That one was all about fundraising because literally I was like, how do you fundraise? How do you find investors? Who are these people? What? I knew no one. I knew nothing. And so literally I was being bombarded with information. I have to like go Google, what does a term sheet look like? What does a priced round mean? So you're learning in real time. It's like learning a new sport. Business is a sport. That's how you have to look at it. You're learning new terms, new words. Who are the players? What are the rules? And so that one was very key for me because I took that information and then I went and I fundraised. And I wouldn't have been able to have done that without understanding what are the rules of this game, right? How is this game played? The other one was the Stanford L-band accelerator, because that one was all about scaling. However, when you think of scaling, you think about like money and finance and scaling and production and big, more MOQs, et cetera, more retailers. But really, it was about how do you scale your team? How do you scale company culture? And that's something that, unless you've done it before, unless you've been a leader before, you do need to learn how to do that. You do need to how to become a leader. And so that was incredibly powerful because Stanford has some of the best minds, and they were incredible things that have really transformed how I'm a leader in my business with my team. And then Morgan Stanley, it came with money. So that was the only one that came with money. And then also now that network, they have introduced me to dozens and dozens of investors. So that's the impact, right? It's like I met people, I got money, I became a better leader.
That's great. And Corey, was there a strategic pivot that ACOA had to make based on insights that you gained through an accelerator?
Oh yeah. I mean, I agree with Sandra. I mean, we've been in so many different programs, and I think every program gives you a little bit that makes you move forward. For example, one little pivot, one big accelerator that we did, first experience was Square with the Square Forward. And it was with other, not only beauty, but other businesses. And I remember one specific class with 1863, which they also invest in Black and brown businesses. They're very great and very connected, is that you need to get out of that founder mindset and move into a CEO mindset. And sometimes we're like, oh yes, I'm the CEO of X brand, but we really are founders. Our mentality, our mindset is still set up to as a founder mentality of always hustling, always grinding, and I don't have really a good strategy. Once you move that mindset into more of the CEO, you have a strategy, you build a team, you build structure, and then you move forward. So I think that was one like big moment, that having that class, and you think you at first you're like, yeah, I know how to do that. But then when they actually break down all the steps and all the strategy, you're like, oh yeah, I have to change. I need to like pivot and make other things. So that was one thing. And then the Amica program was amazing. And the reason why that was so important for us was because it's another hair brand that we admire and we look up to. And they just were so open with their team, and they were just sharing all this information on how they are structured. And I feel like that was really a big pivot moment for us to see and just plan. Maybe not at the moment, we can't have as many teams as them, but in the future, you can start thinking of how your business can look like 5, 10 years. So it really helps that you can just plan forward and you can plan and make all the steps necessary to get there. So every single accelerator just gave us their little nuggets and gave us like the information just to maybe write them down now and then work towards getting into that.
That's great. Ellie, can you share the impact that Ultimuse has had on your business?
Absolutely. So Ulta did come with money, which is always a plus. We love money. That was a big impact, of course, because it was a $50,000 grant. So we were able to invest that into the business, into product development, and to further growing it. It's so hard to get grants nowadays, especially as Latina women. It's not easy. It's hard to even get a loan at the bank. So that was very validating. As a woman-owned Latina founder, I feel like to be able to be recognized by such a large retailer and just be validated for our hard work, that a lot of the times does not get recognized. So that is, to me, it's like more than the money, it's like the principle with it too. And then I would say the biggest impact was, I wouldn't even say just what I learned, it's what I realized, which is what Corey and Sandra have been saying as well, is that when you apply to these accelerator programs, you think like you are ready. Like when I was applying to Ulta, I had the mentality of, okay, I want to be an Ulta, like I'm ready, like let's do it, right? But when you go through the program, you realize like, oh my gosh, like there's so many other things that I have to do first to build a strong foundation, because without a strong foundation, if you get into retail, it's going to collapse. So you have to build a strong business that is not dependent on retail first. And then you're gonna most likely be more successful, because you don't want to like get into retail and then you're not ready as a business and then you fail, because you don't get those opportunities. They're like once in a lifetime. So you want to get it right the first time and you have to be prepared. And thankfully, Ulta is very understanding. They know like they see us, they see the struggles that we have to go through as founders. And they're very understanding of like what stage we are in the business. And I learned that from the other founders that were in the cohort as well. So they are willing to work with you, but you don't want to rush this process. You want to make sure like it's strong. So being in that program helped me to realize that I need to make the business strong. And it doesn't, it's not always like, it's not like the end of the world, like just make the business strong first, and that's going to pay off way more in the long run. And you don't want to be dependent on retail either. And the last thing I would say is the connections that I made in that cohort with my peers. They're invaluable. Jared's like basically a part of our team now. Like he might as well be my CFO. So yeah, like just the friends that I made in that cohort. I don't have any experience with finances. Like I always say, I'm just a girl that likes makeup. I'm just a girl that likes makeup. I don't know things about money like Corey. I don't have experience with finances, so I have made a lot of mistakes which have backfired later on. So having a friend like that, really, that has offered me so much of his time and introduced me to other people that are very knowledgeable in that industry that I am not as strong in, because you have to, whatever you're not strong in, you need to have people that are strong in that aspect. Like if you are a strong creative, then you need to have a strong like finance person on your team, because I didn't realize how important finances were until like it smacked me in the face. So, so really, those relationships were like the biggest impact, I would say, from the program,
And I
for
and I
sure.
think that's great. And I think, Corey and Sandra both kind of mentioned something very similarly, is really creating that nucleus, that team that you have around it, those people that are around you, not only to help guide you, but for you to bounce ideas off of one another, and really that inspiring team to just, because it's a lonely experience, right? Being founders, but really to have that group of individuals that are going to support you and provide you with the insights and information that you need to keep going. I think it's invaluable in a way. So to be able to grow that network through these programs, I think are great. I would love, and feel free to see which one of you want to take this question, because I think as Cassandra, you made the statement of like the ones that you attended didn't come with money. There are others that do provide grants or some form of funding. And oftentimes, due to the fact that we do like access to funding, sometimes that money can have a big impact in your business. So for the entrepreneurs that are on this call that are trying to decide, which one to prioritize, the experience, the exposure, the program that may not come with funding, or one that does, what are your perspective on that? Which one should they prioritize over another?
Go ahead, Corey.
I mean, I feel like for me, it depends on what you need. For example, if you feel like you need structure, you need to learn certain things, then go for an educational one. For example, Shea Moisture has a great program that you get to go to Tuck at Dartmouth in New Hampshire, and you spend a whole week with the best professors. That's an Ivy League school. I never thought that this immigrant Latina who was in bilingual all throughout high school was gonna go and spend and do an executive program at Tuck. So that was so valuable to me, and it just showed another way of like seeing business and having like your structure, your strategy, your mission in line. Another one that I can't that I think, if you guys want network, for example, like Sandra said, your network is so important. Luminary, they have a lot of different brands, companies that sponsor being part of Luminary, and through Luminary you can connect with everybody. They have a huge network. We know particularly with Luminary, we connected to American Express and Chase and all these companies that are looking for brands like you. So it doesn't necessarily come with money, but it comes with a huge value. Like I value the network, I value the connections, and I value the knowledge that I don't have. So don't see, I know obviously funding is important, but having that education is so valuable in the first beginning, and if you're in the early stages, that it would really transform, and it will make you more strategic on how you make decisions on, do I need to purchase this for marketing? Do I need inventory now? How much should I, like, all those decisions are so important, and that will lead you to meet your goals in the future. So think about education and network programs as something to start with.
Thank you. Sandra, do you want to add?
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that. Agree that, what is it that you need in your business? And I know, unfortunately, the answer is like, I need everything, right? So then you have to decide, well, what do you need the most right now? Like, what's the house on fire thing that you really need? But I think what I just wanted to add is, again, is an accelerator is not going to make your business, just like a retailer is not going to make your business. Like you have to come with a strong brand, like take the time. I built my brand in the quiet for like a year and a half. No one knew what I was doing. No one cared. If I had told them, they still wouldn't have cared. You have to be willing to work in the quiet without applause. Like forget the glamour of like, oh, and so raised money and I won this allure award. Like that's all nice, right? But the real work happens in the beginning with you by yourself, writing down like you're starting a religion. Like, what is this brand? What does it stand for? I know Ellie talked about what is your why, right? Like, why does this brand need to exist? Why you? Why now? Like, if you cannot answer those questions, like you need to answer those questions first before you pass go. Like, answer those questions first, because it is highly competitive, right? There is no shortage of any of the products that we all make on this call, right? There's plenty of shampoo, there's plenty of body scrub, there's plenty of makeup in the world, but why are these brands going to be the ones that win? Like you need to be able to defend that confidently, okay? And no one gives you that confidence. You give it to yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be the cheerleader inside of yourself with the pom-poms before anyone else comes and believes in you, because you're going to need that as you go through this journey. You know what I mean? So I just want to like restate again the reality that you have to build the brand first, because going to the accelerator, if you don't have the brand, they're not going to tell you what your brand is, right? I've had many entrepreneurs come to me like, "Well, how do I fill out this application? How do I do this?" I'm like, "What is your brand? I can't give that to you. That's something that you create from yourself." You know, I can share resources, right? But just because you use my resources doesn't mean you're going to have the same results, because again, the brand has to come from you.
It's great. I love all the insights and the gems. I mean, a lot of great information. I know there was a question, Sandra, that you answered in the Q&A, but I would love to get the perspective of Corey and Ellie. There was a question around, in terms of growing your brand, we shared about the importance of social media. What about PR? So traditionally, I know that other brands use PR firms to accelerate growth. Did you engage in PR firms to help your brand get more visibility?
Ellie, you want to go first?
Oh, sure, yeah. We personally did. We worked with a PR firm early last year. I will say, if you are in the early stages, I, in my personal opinion, I don't think that it is worth the money that it costs. It is very expensive, and we have gotten press coverage by me simply reaching out to them, myself personally, to these freelance writers. We've gotten coverage from that. And the coverage that we received from the PR company was not like life changing for the amount of money that it costs. So I will say, like, when it comes to PR, it's extremely important. I look at PR as like, the articles and also influencers, because that has been a vital key player in helping us boost sales tremendously. When I started doing PR, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was just sending out emails to influencers, hoping that they would respond and just like giving them a rundown of who I am and what the brand is. And, thankfully, a lot of them did, and a lot of them were open to it. And it's like, if you don't shoot your shot, like people say, like, you never know like what will happen. So it is time consuming. I will say, like, if you can get someone to help you, like an intern or somebody on your team that is willing to help you do that reach out, or if you're gonna do it yourself, like take something off of your plate, because it is very time consuming, but it's also like it's gonna be vital into growing the brand, because it was for me. So I got a lot of like these influencers like Michaela Nagara. You're gonna easily pay $100,000 for a TikTok video, and she's done 3 reviews for us for free. So it's like building the relationships with these influencers are extremely, extremely important, because the amount of influence that these people have is insane. Like, people are no longer looking at like advertisements the way that they used to. They're looking to these influencers and these writers and articles to make their decision. Like, consumers are a lot more informed nowadays, and they're more influenced by the influencers that they have like parasocial relationships with, and these newsletters that they read. So I honestly believe that reaching out to them personally in the early stages is going to be more beneficial, more cost effective, and more impactful for the brand. And then as you grow, then you have to reevaluate that, because of course you can't do the same thing that you did before. As you continue to expand and grow, you have to adapt and evolve. But in the early stages, like, that is what I would do.
Yeah, same for me. We never had a PR firm. We had hired like freelancers who have helped us. But honestly, look at your cash flow. Like, it's hard to measure the return of investment in PR. It takes months. Like, you can bring in a PR agency now and you will not see an article until like 3 months or 4 months, if any. And again, like Ellie said, our articles are not related to, like, you don't see sales right away. So I would say look at your cash flow. If you have extra money, go for it. Maybe spend a little bit of it and actually get a freelance, start small, or like Ellie said, reach out yourself. Sometimes these editors would like to hear the story directly from the founder via an email than just another agency trying to pitch it. But there, we've gone so much just by Nicole sending emails. And obviously, you need to be consistent. You need to follow up, and you kind of have to be ignored for a few times, and then maybe they remember you. Every like in 6 months they'll come back and remember you. But just I don't know how much before like we didn't really like look at cash flow the same way. We like thought like, okay, let's just do this, hire this person because X and Y, Z. No, look at your cash flow. If you had money and then you can set aside something and you already have your inventory figure it out. You already have your other marketing things figured out and you have extra money, then do it and do something like that. But don't think that you're gonna right away calculate the return of investment because it's really hard.
Yeah, I just want to add, because I answered this question in the chat. I was like, no, don't pay for PR. I just want to add that, or ask actually the audience, like, when was the last time you picked up a Vogue magazine and bought a product because of something that you read? So I know it gets exciting, right? Like, oh, my name, in lights, right, kind of thing. But like, how do people actually shop today, right? So to Ellie's point, if you have money, like you're going to get so much more bang for your buck if you take like this like $5,000 monthly retainer and put it into COGS for influencer seeding. You're going to be able to send out so many more packages to people, and then like hopefully, a huge percentage of those convert, create content. That's actually the new publicity. The new PR is influencers. So put I'll give you like a stat. I spoke with Creator IQ, which is one of these, big expensive influencer platforms to manage data. Nix spends $50,000 a month on COGS of product that they ship out. Right. So just to give you an idea of like what are the big brands doing? $50,000 a month of COGS value, right? So like that's like a lot of money if they were to sell at retail, right? If their COGS are like 10% of SRP. But influencer seeding is so much more economical than paying a PR firm because you can actually measure it. I can go to TikTok and like search, did this person post that I sent it to, right? Like with PR, you're like, okay, it came out in Vogue. Like now what? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
to
think
add
it's
to that, it's sorry,
no, no,
I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say it's a lot more impactful, and we've gotten press coverage from the influencers doing reviews. Like I remember um I had reached out to like Lizzo's makeup artist because she did a video like swatching a black like lipstick on her and we had something similar. So I reached out and he got back to me telling me that he had been eyeing the products, but they were sold out. So I sent them to him and she posted it on her page. And then Teen Vogue ended up writing an article about it. So like the articles will come too when you are making noise on social media. Like editors are always looking for that too. They're looking at trends, they're looking at what's happening.
That's great to hear, Ellie. Great to be proactive and being on top of it, and to be able to contact them and share that. At Latinas in Beauty, the way that we're seeing, the way that we're building community, I think obviously these are Latina owned brands, but it's for all. But I think there's also the aspect of building community and coming together to support one another. So, leveraging the Latina influencers, because and that relationship I think would go even further too, because what we've seen is that they're eagerly to support Latina owned, to raise awareness, to raise voice, and to have these brands as part of their beauty routines. And as we all know, we hold a lot of power within this industry, not only from a consumer perspective, but also influence in social media. So I think there's an opportunity that we can grow together in those partnerships. I know we are almost at time, but I would love for each one of you to just share one powerful piece of advice you would have for the individuals on the call as it pertains to the overall journey, or as being entrepreneurs, what's the one thing you would like them to take away from this conversation?
Emily, can we first answer the question in the chat? I don't want to leave people's questions
Go
unanswered.
ahead. Yeah.
There's one that asks, can you all share how big your teams are currently and where they were when you jumped into the program? So I started as a team of one. I don't have a co-founder. And I started with my team was built like over time, like piecemeal, like as needed. Like first it was because I was making the product, so I was like I can't also do the social media, so I hired someone on Upwork, right? So I was paying her like by Venmo. She was like working 5 hours a week and then 10 hours a week, and then I was like, can you just be full time? So she's been my marketing manager, for 4 years now. And I think at the time when I did the accelerators, which have been over the course of years now, again, I had some people were contractors, some people were full time. The like I think someone says, I don't know if it was Corey or Ellie, but like you need to hire your weakness like as soon as possible, even if it's like a freelancer, even if it's a contractor, even if it's like hourly. Like it doesn't have to be a whole like executive search. Do you know what I mean? Like complicated C-suite. But you do need to understand like what is it that like you're really struggling with. And so for me, I'm like, I want nothing to do with freight and logistics. Like I can do it, but I hate it. Like I don't want to read a 100-page routing guide because all the retailers, by the way, have 100-page routing guides. Okay. And so I need someone who could like can do this, right? So hiring that role was key. So my team was built over time. So I think my team was maybe like 2 people when I was in accelerators. I don't know, Corey and Ellie, if you want to answer how big your teams were.
Yeah, for us, I mean, my sister and I were two, co-founders. So when we started doing programs, it was technically us, and then we had a few contractors who helped us, like, right away for us, because I come from the financial world, accounting and bookkeeping and all that was very important, but we couldn't hire full time, so we outsourced that. But also like think about like people that can be like paid per like, freelancers and
Yeah.
also like, pay them like part-time. So like Sandra said, now we're about 5 in total, but we still have contractors that help us with other areas. I mean, like for example, like we are on Amazon and running Amazon is its own beast. So we have a contractor agency who helps us with that. So it's like all these little things that as you grow, sometimes you think, oh, it might just be easier if I just learn Amazon. It's hard. Do not learn Amazon. It is very hard. Hire someone who can help you and you can see a return in your investment. So things like that you can look into. Your team doesn't necessarily have to be all full-time people. You can just start adding them as you need them and evaluate your cash flow. Cash flow is important.
Yes, I agree. Our team is currently 3 people, and yeah, we have quite a bit of contractors. We have about 5 or 6, I believe, that manage like different aspects of the business, like email marketing, Facebook ads. All of that stuff is very time consuming, and it's things that you don't have the time to do those things as a founder. You just don't. So you do have to hire out, and like Corey and Sandra said, like you will grow. And one thing I would say is just like make sure like you're hiring people that are talented because that will pay off. I didn't have a good experience with a previous marketing agency, and I was with them for a long time. So I do feel like that did hold us back a little. So just also like making sure you're evaluating like performance for the agencies and things like that so that you can continue to grow.
Thank you. I'll do one more question because I think it's important and I think you guys would add tremendous value to it. Do you recommend fundraising platforms like WeFounder?
I used WeFunder last year. So I guess I would say yes, I recommend it. I would also say that there are, I'm happy to connect, and Emily, I can send this to you and you can send it out to the list. But I also worked with a company that helped build the WeFunder campaign for free. And they actually have funding specifically to do that for founders because a lot of founders, again, it's just like Ellie said, everything takes time and you cannot be an expert in everything. You cannot run Amazon and Facebook ads and manage the KPIs and do the operations and like you cannot. So this company has funding specifically to help build the campaigns. They know like how it works. They gave me email templates of like, here's how you should email all the people. Here's how you should set up the Q&A. Here's the documents that you need. Because I think a lot of people don't do it because they're like, I don't have the time to set up a WeFunder campaign, right? Even though you need the capital, you're like, I don't have time to even set up to go get this money. And so I raised $250,000 on WeFunder last year because we had a lot of our customers who are like, how do I invest in Nopalera? And I'm like, there's really no way for you to do that because we can't take small checks, you know? So WeFunder is essentially an SPV, which is really a special purpose vehicle, which is like a bucket. So you have all these people that want to invest like $100, $200, $500, and they go into this bucket. And then on your cap table, right, your capital table, you just have one line item that says WeFunder instead of having 1,000 people at like $20, $100. You guys got me? So I do recommend WeFunder. I think it's the best of the ones out there. It's not like Kickstarter, so you're not giving away like free mugs and t-shirts when people invest over a certain amount. You're just like, here's the brand, here's the traction. Do you believe? Yes or no? Great. Here's how you invest. Click the button. So I do like WeFunder. I think it's great. I think people like Kim from, Curl Mix have done incredible on WeFunder. They've raised, she's raised millions because she's completely, in communication with her customers, and they want to invest, right? They want her to succeed. So if you have customers, I think it's great.
Perfect. Looks like we're at time, so I want to be mindful as busy entrepreneurs that I don't take any additional more time away from both the three of you. I want to thank the three of you for being here today and sharing these insights that I know will add tremendous value to everyone on the call. Thank you for being transparent and vulnerable and sharing the realities of not only being an entrepreneur, but balancing attending these accelerator programs and the impact they've had on your business. So thank you everyone for being here today. Remember, access to networks, resources, and funding is crucial, and these programs can help bridge those gaps. We hope that you left feeling inspired and equipped with actionable takeaways. Keep pushing, keep building, and we look forward to seeing the amazing things you achieve. And we'll see you at our next event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.